everyone, Leanne here, and welcome back to my DIY journal making series. If you missed making your cover, I will leave it linked in a card here for you, so go check that video out. Today we are talking all about signatures, paper, putting signatures together in a cohesive manner. We are doing both an insert and the signatures for the journal that I'm making that you saw in the first one. So there's going to be lots of information that can be used for any type of signature that you make. So I'm going to stop babbling and just get into it. So first of all, what the heck is a signature? A signature is basically just a group of papers. The difference between an insert and any other journal is the fact that the insert is one signature and a journal contains multiple signatures. Literally the only difference between an insert and any other journal you'll ever encounter. So now that we've discussed that, for the inserts, I would suggest going with no more than 15 sheets of paper. And I'm going to take a real quick moment to explain why. So when you have this piece of paper and you fold it in half, one sheet of paper becomes 2 pages, and the 2 pages becomes 1, 2, 3, 4 sides to work on. Now, let me show you real quick. This has 10 sheets of paper, so 10 sheets, 20 pages. This is what it looks like. Now, obviously not everyone is going to stuff theirs completely full of stuff like I do, but if you do use yours to any extent with extra things in it, it's going to bulk up. And alligator mouth, obviously. So, if you want to put stuff in your journal, then I would suggest using no more than 15. But if you are just writing, you can put in as many as you want. But still keep in mind it's going to look a little funky with an insert with too many pages because of the way the spine will look. So it's up to you. That's just my experienced word of warning. So what I have here are my favorite base papers to work with. This is Midori MD paper. I take apart an insert to create pages, and I'll show you how to take apart an insert later in the video. I mean a book later in the video, but these are Tomoe River paper folded in half. I will try to leave all the papers linked below so you can check them out if you want. This is Midori 003 insert paper, so this comes in an insert that I again take apart to use individually. And then these are the Becky Higgins Project Life 6x8 sheet protectors. That's a mouthful. In design 4. So it's a 6x8 page that comes with 4 3x4 photo pockets. And when you fold it in half, it's about the same size as a standard page. Well, it's a little bit shorter, but so that's what I use for my pocket pages. And then this is a piece of cut off drawing paper. It's heavyweight drawing paper, so it handles mixed media relatively well. So those are my favorite base papers to work with. So right now I'm going to show you how I assemble an insert, and then we'll get into other papers and how I do signatures for my actual book that I'm making later on. Let's just give you a base idea. So I have all of them folded in half, and I'm going to start creating my insert. Now, you want to basically create a stack of paper. This is going to seem simple if you've already done something like this, but I want to make sure everybody has the knowledge that they need to create a book. So, I lay my first page down. This is going to be when I open my insert. This will be my first page. I like to put something fun right in the front to get me excited about using the journal or throw me off a little bit, one or the other. Could be a vellum sheet, could be anything you like. But we're keeping it simple, so we're just going to put this white insert in here. Then I'm going to layer this page on here. Now, if you don't like mixing your white and cream, I know some of you are probably cringing. Don't worry, you don't have to. This is just how I like to do it. So if you want a double page spread of the same paper, you have to lay 2 of the same paper on top of each other, which will create the double page spread like so. So I'm going to do that. Let's put one of these short pages in here. Actually, I'm going to put a pocket page in here so that I have one right in the front. So this will create one in the front and one in the back because we just started our insert. And then let's put a Tomoe River page down here. Make sure when you put in your pocket pages that the opening is facing up so you can slide your stuff in. I have put it in the wrong way before, so just keep that in mind. I'm sorry if I'm off frame at any point. I'm going to put one of these Midori pages in. The 003 page, here's the MD page, and I'm just layering them down. I know how I like to work, and I like to work with tip-ins. So the reason I put all these shorter pages in here is because I know that I will put tip-ins in anyway. So I figured, why not put pages that seem like tip-ins already bound into the book, and hopefully that'll cut down on my bulk. That was my theory anyway, and so far it's worked pretty well. So just finish layering these up here. Oh, I had 2 stuck together. Alright, so here is your stack of papers, and when you fold it over, this is the guts of your insert without a cover, basically. So once I have all of these folded together, what I like to do is I will then go through and flip through it like it's already bound to make sure I like the feel of the journal that I've created, or the signature that I've created. So I'm just going to flip through here. So I have a double page spread there, a pocket page. Here's a little tip-in. Now, I don't think I did a double page Midori spread in here, besides in the middle. So what I'm actually going to do, I think I'm going to take this middle sheet here and put it here instead, so that I have double page of Tomoe River spreads with this little leaf in the middle. So that feels better to me. So again, it's all personal preference. Just go through. Okay, there's the insert with the pocket pages. I think I want the pocket pages before. Yeah. And then on the other side, it'll be after. Yeah, I like that. Okay. So let's do that. Then we have this, and the 2 of these. Now, oh, nope, it's not 2, it's 1. I feel like there's not enough breakup between these pages, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab an extra little insert here, and I'm going to slide it in here. Yep. And then these will all be the same, just because they're the other sides of the paper. Alright, so I like the feel of this, and I'm going to go with it. So that is one signature created, or your insert. So if you're making an insert, you're ready to move on to the binding step. If you were making a book, I would not put this many papers in one signature because it's going to create it really bulky. You want to make small signatures. But we're going to go to a sped up version now of me creating my inserts for the journal that I'm working on for me this time, and I hope you enjoy. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them below if I didn't answer anything, and if there's anything that I forgot to link, let me know at the end. So let's get into that. Okay guys, now we're going to get a little more serious. I have pulled out all of the pages that I think I want to use in my book, and I'm going to cut them down to size. But first, I'm going to show you how to make a template, which is going to make this a lot easier. So basically, you want to take a scrap piece of paper and put it over the front of your cover. You want to make it just a tiny bit shorter and less wide than your cover. So basically, take your back or your front cover's measurements and make it a tiny bit smaller, and that's going to give you the optimal page size. Now, when you use your scrap piece of paper to do this, fold it in half first, because then it'll be literally the size of the piece of paper you need to cut. So the paper cutter makes this a lot easier. You don't need one, but it does make the process a lot better. So what I do is I take my template then and I hold it over the paper that I would like to put into my book, and I mark where I need to cut and I cut it off. Obviously, you could draw a straight line, again, if you're using scissors instead of a paper trimmer, but this works for me. You could also measure it out and use the ruler guidelines on your paper measure to cut it, but if I'm not making a book with a ton of pages, it's just easier to use the guide. So I'm going to show you again how I did it, and then I'll speed up the process so you're not bored to death. So I put the template over it, make a couple marks, and chop it off. Now, unfortunately, when I cut this piece of paper, ledger paper, it cuts off the numbers in the top right hand corner, but I'm going to reincorporate those back into the book. So if you have something that got cut off that you wanted to use, set it aside and I'll show you some creative ways to use it later on in the series. So here we go, just sped up cutting all my papers down to size. This makes it a lot easier when you're getting ready to build your signature. Everything's just already ready to go. Now, I have this magazine page that I wanted to use of this girl. She seems kind of December-ish, but she's not like Christmassy, because I'm not a Christmassy person. And I thought I thought it would be okay to have her be sideways, but then I decided that I wanted her standing straight up. And obviously I can't fold the paper in half because not only would it not be big enough, but she would be cut off. So I'm going to show you again later on in this series how I deal with that short side of the paper. So what I'm doing here with this piece of ledger paper is I'm actually folding it into thirds, so it'll be a flip out. Sorry that I forgot to silence my text noise. This is a piece of scrap from the cover that we made, and I'm going to fold that in thirds as well. Some of these things I will create into pockets, but in our more advanced or finishing touches, we'll go over that. So here I'm showing you how I take signatures out of books that are already bound. So stitched in signatures look like this. This is an antique book. So they're just sewn in. So what I do is you find the middle of the signature and I just stick my scissors under it and I snip it. So you want to cut all of those. Often there'll only be 3 or 4 pages on each sewn signature, so you'll have to do it quite a few times to take the book apart, but this is just the easiest way I've found. And then you just pull straight up and it'll come out of the sewing. So there you go, just coming right out. And then this is what it looks like when you know you've gotten all the signatures out. It's just a bunch of string, and you can usually see the spine of the book or the glue. So I hope that was helpful. But yeah, that's just how I take signatures apart so that they're already together like pages, so I can use them in my journals. This is a piece of vellum, and I'm going to turn it into a pocket, I think. So that's what I was doing here. That was like the last page that I decided to cut for my book. And then I'm going to look at all the all the papers I've cut and put them into signatures. I like my books obviously I put a lot of stuff in them. So the smaller the signature and the more signatures you have, the less it'll bulk up an alligator mouth, basically. So I'm only putting 3 or 4 pages in each signature. And I'm just playing around. One thing that I do to keep the book flowing, or to separate the pages, is I use a lot of white pages. So you'll see me start signatures with white pages or break signatures up with white pages. I find it just really helps the book flow more. Once you start making them more often, you'll get your own rhythm of how you like things to be. But that's just a little tip for you. So I'll do white pages on the outside of 3 signatures, and then you'll see me do other papers on the other 2. So you can just line papers up next to each other, and if they look good together, kind of laying there, they'll probably be good in a signature together. You also want to keep in mind, like this one, if the pages are shorter, you'll be able to see all 3 of those pages at once from the middle section. So you want to make sure they all flow together nicely. And then here, just looking at the vellum pocket, whether I want to put it next to the vintage paper or if I want the white to break it up. I thought I wanted it against the white, but it just seemed too harsh of a contrast, and I really wanted the vellum to feel like it belonged there. And you'll see I folded the vellum wrong, but I'll fix that eventually. So here I'm just looking to see what order I want my signatures in. I know how I journal and work, so I'm pretty good at figuring out which order I want them in. So I start out really easy because I'm easing myself into using more pattern papers. I usually use mostly white pages like you saw in the first insert that I put together. So for my first signature, I made sure that the one with the most blank pages was in the front. And then I have scattered them depending on the type of pocket that I have had and stuff. So once I've stacked them all together, I flip through it to see if it feels like a completed journal, I guess you could say. So I'll flip through all the signatures, open it up, look at it as if it's already bound, and if it feels right, then I move on. Sometimes I play with it for forever, and sometimes it just organically comes together perfectly. So, one thing, if you're sewing the envelope in, you either want to sew the top flap there, or if it's in the middle of the signature, what you can do is you can take the envelope apart and stitch the bottom flap in and then glue the envelope back up, and you'll have an envelope in the middle of your signature. So yeah, that's it for this part, you guys. I know it was long, but I really wanted to go over as many things as I could. There aren't a lot of how to put your signatures together videos that I've come across, at least, so I thought it would be interesting and helpful for those of you who are just starting out or who are looking to change it up or whatever. Again, if you have any additional questions, leave them below and I will make sure to address them in one of the eventual videos. Please give this a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe so you don't miss any of my future videos, including the next installment. I will leave a playlist linked below so you can check out the other videos. And I'll talk to you guys next time. Take care, guys.